Hi, I'm Tristan. I'm 13 years old. I'm curious, I'm passionate, and I'm sure you are too. Join me on a quest to dig deep and find out new things. Welcome to Youth Voices. Good evening, welcome to my program. This is your host Tristan Pang on Planet FM 104.6. Youth Voices, good to have your company on a Saturday evening. In today's show, we'll chat with a young and successful founder, Jordan Thoms. I'll also share with you some inspirational stories. So here we go. Let's be inspired. Soar like an eagle from academictips.org. Did you know that an eagle knows when a storm is approaching long before it breaks? The eagle will fly to some high point and wait for the winds to come. When the storm hits, it sets its wings so the wind will pick it up and lift it above the storm. While the storm rages below, the eagle is soaring above it. The eagle does not escape the storm, it simply uses the storm to lift it higher. It rises on the wind that brings the storm. When the storm of life comes upon us, like the eagle, we can rise above them and ride the winds of the storm that brings sickness, tragedy, failure, and disappointment into our lives. Let's talk. I'm very excited about today as I'm going to talk to someone whom I've been emailing since 2013. Today is the first time I met him, my featured guest, as he's a very busy and successful young founder. I knew his dad, Jordan Thoms, who was the national president of the New Zealand Association for Gifted Children, and his mum, Annette Collins, who was the president of the Auckland branch of the NZAGC. I'm the member of the NZAGC, and my featured guest, Jordan Thoms, was a member of this organisation. Jordan is an incredibly smart person. He started his university studies at 16, and when he was at his final year at the University of Auckland in 2012, he and another software engineer student, Henji Wang, launched Notable. Notable is a PDF reader for our browser, and it allows us to write something on top. Jordan is such a clever and innovative person whom helps us to make our notes, taking and sharing easy and enjoyable. I'm very pleased to have Jordan as my guest today. Hi Jordan, welcome to my show.
Hi.
Well, I've heard that you skipped a few years at high school and graduated from ACG Senior College when you were 16. And you started your engineering degree at the University of Auckland. You were a few younger than your classmates, so did you feel any different yourself? And obviously there were some activities that you couldn't go to, such as parties or going to the pub. So how did you mix with other people?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, most of the time it really didn't make any difference, and nobody, I was 16, so I was a couple of years younger, and most of them were 18. But it didn't make a huge difference apart from when they would head to the pub, and that was that was really the only thing I couldn't do. Aside from that, nobody really cared, and it didn't come up very often. Most people didn't even really know. It was only a problem on occasion, and that was a pain. But then in my third year I was 18. So
yeah, so you could go along with him.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I was glad to be out of school. So yeah.
So just get out there, do what you want, like doing things. So yeah.
Yeah.
So as a gifted person, you might have lots of interests and might find it difficult to decide which faculty you were going to study in. So how did you make the decision to go and study engineering? And was it something that you dreamt of when you were young?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, my interest sort of did change a bit. I remember very young, I was sort of very into electricity and things, and then sort of, I guess as I started playing around with computers more, that sort of became what I was mostly interested in. But, I really enjoyed physics at school, so I was sort of considering going down more that route. But I think in the end I sort of decided that I really wanted to do, software and computers. And then at that point it was I could either go computer science or software engineering. And I decided that software engineering was probably good because it would sort of get more of a engineering basis, and there would be more sort of physics related stuff in there as well. So,
that's interesting, yeah. So you had lots of passions when you were young, right? So yeah.
yeah, and then it was sort of just a matter of trying to figure out what I really wanted to, get a degree and then spend a lot of time doing. And,
Okay,
so
yeah.
software was sort of the thing that seemed best.
Yeah, so you like doing it now?
Yeah.
Okay. So your Notable is a genius product, as PDF files do not allow people to add or change anything. So how did you come up with this brilliant idea? And did it take long to make it from scratch to launch? And what's your future plan for Notable?
So it sort of came out of, it developed over quite a period of time. So the initial product was more for university students, so they could add notes to PDF files and share those notes in their class.
Okay.
And then over time, we found that it was actually very difficult to get people to use that. It took too long that when somebody was interested in using it, they had to do a big setup process.
Yeah.
And by the time that, we got through the setup process, we could only get like 5% of the people to get through that.
So they lose interest half the way.
Yeah, and it was very hard. So what we did was that we realized that the actual adding notes to PDF part was actually useful. So we took that out and then built Notable PDF. And Notable PDF only took us about a month and a half from when we started working on it to having something out. And the initial version was very, very rough. It worked about half the time, and it was very rough because we were just sort of built in a couple of months while doing other jobs as well. But it was we saw that there were enough people using it, and people were sort of willing to use it, even with it being really rough, that we could see that this was something that we should spend more time on, and we should quit our jobs and work on full time.
So what are you planning? What's your next step for Notable?
So next immediate steps is we need to change the name. We're sort of we're going to be rebranding in the next couple of weeks, and then we are sort of, so right now we have the education side, which is mostly schools in the United States, and we are working on just getting more and more schools involved, but then also we have the enterprise side, and that's going to be a big focus, and we're building out a lot more sort of enterprise and work focused functionality. And that's sort of one of the big things that I think will drive us. And it's sort of what we've found is that the work people are much more willing to pay for services, and that obviously makes it much easier to build a sustainable business with than some of the education side of things.
Okay, that's interesting. So now I always wanted to ask this question when I came across programs which are free or the users only need to pay a minimal cost. So it's the same as Notable, I found. So may I ask how the company can survive without or with very little income?
Okay. So it kind of depends. Some of the things that you'll see that are free are just somebody's side project that they built for fun and they're not expecting to make a lot of money off. But things that are coming from large companies is either, usually what it is you bring a bunch of people in for free. So like if you look at Dropbox, you can sign up for free and they'll give you some storage. But then what they know is that 2 or 3% of those people will upgrade and pay for pay $5-10 a month for more storage. Or in our case, they pay $2 a month or $5 a month to get more features. And you only need a small amount of people to upgrade in order to make things work. Because also it's, if you think about when somebody starts paying us $5 a month, our incremental cost to support that person is probably like 10 cents. So it's really
covers everyone else.
Once you get building up those people, you're basically just generating pure profit off the paid users, and that supports all the free users and all your costs. The other side of it is we obviously have raised investment, so right now we are trying to grow really fast, and that means that we're spending money faster than it's coming in right now, with the idea being that you grow really fast and then you become profitable later. So like something like Xero, which is not profitable right now, the reason that the investors are happy is because they're growing really fast, and then if you keep on growing really fast, you'll become profitable at some point in the future. At least in theory. It doesn't always happen, but yeah.
So now I have 2 signature questions. The first question is, can you tell us 3 people who have inspired you, so our young listeners can learn from them and why?
So I think in terms of, startups and this side, which has sort of really been what I've been working on for the last sort of couple of years. So Paul Graham, was one of the founders of Y Combinator.
Okay.
He's written a whole lot of amazing essays on, how to start a company and a lot of the problems that you can face and good solutions for those things. So that's been great, and I've really enjoyed reading things. Sam Altman, who's the new chairman of 500 Startups, of Y Combinator.
Okay.
Is one of our investors actually, and he's also great. He's written a lot of really interesting essays. I think also one of the really inspiring people for me right now is Elon Musk. I think what he's doing with pushing forward, both on Tesla and on SpaceX is really inspiring, and just really going back to the basics and saying, how much should it cost to build this thing? Completely aside from everything about, how we make it or what other people do, just, what's the raw materials, what should it really cost? And then, realizing that, well, actually you should be able to build a rocket for a tenth of the cost of what everyone else is paying, but, everyone else is so inefficient that it ends up costing a lot more than it should. So.
That's great, yeah. So now my second signature question is, can you share with us something that you've heard or read that really inspired you?
So I think one of the books that I sort of go back to and sort of keep reminding myself of is The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, who's it's basically just sort of talking about how you should go about figuring out if your business can work, and how you should, start off small and test your ideas, so that then you can, before you make a huge investment in something, you can see that it's going to have potential. And the way that happens is really interesting. So it's sort of always a good book that I go back to and sort of, remind myself of those concepts.
That's very interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of, rather than going and, spending 10 million to build this product and then putting it out to the market and you realize that nobody actually wants it. You spend 10,000 and build a really crappy version of that, but you can put that out and see if people actually want it before you spend a lot more money. So.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So thank you, Jordan, for coming onto my show today.
No problem. Thank you.
Jordan is a nice and smart young man. I'm very impressed with his humility, although he has achieved so much at such a young age. He is a good model to all of us. As we have mentioned during the interview, Jordan has developed an incredible cloud-based PDF viewer and annotation, which is called Notable. Please go to the website www.notablepdf.com. That is www.notablepdf.com. We thank you, Jordan, for the interview on my show today. If you want to listen to my other shows, please go to my website www.questisfund.org.nz/youthvoices. That is www.quest-is-fun.org.nz/youthvoices. So for today, that's it from me, Tristan Pang. Thank you for listening. I welcome your feedback and your support of the program. Please write to me on Facebook or email me to youthvoicesnz@gmail.com. Don't forget to like Youth Voices with Tristan Pang on Facebook. Good night, world. Join me again next Saturday at 5:20 p.m. to dig deeper, or listen anytime online at planetaudio.org.nz/youthvoices. Youth Voices.